2013年11月20日，美国驻华大使骆家辉发表辞职声明。顷刻间，这位中国历史上首位华裔驻华大使的辞职原因，成为各方热议和猜测的话题。
This is really the silliest thing I had ever heard of.
The power of social media. There's so many different rumors out there.
骆家辉如何评价自己的中国经历？未来又将何去何从？
Any negative impact on the Sino-U.S. relationship
Exceeded the previous 11 years combined.
Whoever they pick will have experience.
杨澜专访美国驻华大使骆家辉夫妇，我们的2年半驻华生活。
大家好，欢迎收看《杨澜访谈录》。作为美国第一位华裔驻华大使，骆家辉的一举一动呢，一直受到广泛的关注。这种关注甚至从他走马上任的途中就已经开始了。他上任以来的2年多当中，中美关系经历了风风雨雨，也出现了一系列的突发事件，加上网络和公众的积极参与，他的知名度和关注度有增无减。11月20日，骆家辉发表了辞职声明，一时间坊间流传着各种版本来揣测他离职的真正原因。今天，骆家辉携夫人李萌来到杨澜访谈录，我们也要问问他们离职的真正原因究竟是什么，以及如何回顾2年多任期中的种种经历。
美国驻华大使骆家辉11月20日宣布，定于明年年初离任回国，以便同家人团聚。骆家辉当天在香港南华早报上发表声明说，本月初同奥巴马总统见面时，我告诉他，我决定2014年初离任大使岗位，以同在西雅图的家人团聚。虽然有媒体援引骆家辉当天在香港南华早报表示离职的原因是单纯的个人原因，奥巴马希望见面时高中最后2年，我决定2014年初2日大使岗位，才一同在西雅图的家人。有人认为是因为北京的空气质量太差，有人认为骆大使是为了参加下届美国总统大选，还有人甚至说是大使出现婚外情而不得不辞职挽救家庭等等。一时间，这位从刚上任就备受关注的美国大使再次成为人们议论的焦点。
Well, after your resignation, there have been some speculations.
我决定2014年初2日大使岗位，才一同在西雅图的家人。有人认为是因为北京的空气质量太差，有人认为骆大使是为了参加下届美国总统大选，还有人甚至说是大使出现婚外情而不得不辞职。
No, that's absolutely not true. It's just so silly.
Yeah.
But
you were angry about that.
To see it and to have Mona subjected to those type of vicious rumors, or even the children to see it, I just thought it was really unfair. I mean, it's one thing if they disagree with my policies and what I've done as ambassador or U.S. policy, but to involve the family, I thought was most unfortunate. But I really love Mona so much, and the kids, and the whole thing has always been motivated by a decision to move back.
But were you kind of annoyed by this too?
Well, I was. I actually
there in the
laughed
States.
because I said,
You
"That's
laughed.
crazy." Well, I was in the States and I was approached by a Chinese reporter, and I actually laughed. I said, "That's crazy." So I think like Gary said, really anyone that knows us knows our relationship, and so
That
you feel a
proves
little
how much
helpless.
attention you're getting at least.
But I think it's also a good lesson for all of us to learn about social media and the power of social media. There's so many different rumors out there. To really make sure you know the facts before you just believe something.
So the decision was actually made last spring to move the family back to the United States so the kids could finish their education, and that I would follow shortly.
It's not the first time we put our family first in our decision.
是的，这不是骆家辉第一次因为家庭而放弃事业。2006年，骆家辉在连任2届华盛顿州州长，并没有竞争对手的情况下，为了孩子放弃了第3任州长职务。而骆家辉的华裔妻子李萌也早在1996年丈夫首次高票当选华盛顿州长后，便辞去了美国西雅图 King 电视台的新闻主播工作。
On the personal level.
But that's why we very much want to promote more people-to-people exchange, to have more Americans come to China and also more American students to study in China, to learn the culture, the history, the language, but also encourage more Chinese to visit the United States to see firsthand American values, Americans in action, daily life.
What have you found as one of the biggest misunderstandings from American point of view towards China?
Well, I think that there are a lot of people who think of China as a very personal country. That's why we very much want to promote more people-to-people exchange, to have more Americans come to China and also more American students to study in China, to learn all across China. People, also ethnic minorities, many ethnic minorities throughout China. And I think it's, they also don't appreciate and understand the long history of China and the great contributions that China has made to world civilization over thousands and thousands of years.
I think culturally, too, it's the Chinese place so much value on family.
Yeah.
Right, and in America, oftentimes you grow up, you go to college, and you leave, and the kids can't wait to leave the home. And I think that here, what I love is the fact that the families are so important, and oftentimes the parents or the grandparents will help take care of the kids. It's just a very supporting culture, and I don't know that the Americans necessarily know or are exposed to that.
2011年10月，由于多日的雾霾天气，人们开始留意起来美国驻华使馆空气质量检测软件北京 Air 每小时更新一次的数据。美国使馆公布的 PM2.5 数据也常常被一些网民们以各种方式传播，也让人们开始关注 PM2.5 对环境和人体的危害。而围绕着 PM2.5 标准是否可行的争论，在一段时间内也常常见诸于报端。尽管美国使馆的 PM2.5 数据也曾被批评并不准确，但这一举动使各界对环境监测标准和环境保护、人体健康方面的重视得到加强。不久后，中国国家环保部在环境空气质量标准的修订版中纳入 PM2.5， 从而实现了国家首次制定的 PM2.5 标准。
Another thing during your stay here is about this whole incident about this air pollution, the data, the PM 2.5 particles, right?
No, we didn't really expect such an impact, although we were realizing that many people throughout China were blogging or retweeting on Weibo our readings.
Did you start publicizing those data towards the American community, or your predecessor has already
Actually,
started?
it started before I arrived, but then we expanded it while I was ambassador. Our role was simply to provide information to the parents of Americans, our role was to provide information to the Americans here in Beijing and eventually throughout China. But we're glad that the Chinese people at all levels became much more aware of the air quality, and that it's the Chinese people and the Chinese government that are now demanding improvements.
骆家辉在辞职声明中感慨，处理美中关系是一项巨大而有回报的挑战。对美国驻华使领馆员工的工作以及我们一起取得的成就，我十分自豪。在声明中，骆家辉把推动贸易发展放在工作总结的第一位。按照他的说法，他依靠促进美国对华出口增长，开拓美国企业在华市场，以及推动中国企业在美投资这3种方式，致力于为美国国内创造就业岗位。而简化中国公民赴美签证流程是骆家辉为自己总结的第2项业绩。这项业绩令中国赴美商务旅行和旅游的人数大幅增加。
What was the mission, the most important mission that President Obama gave it to you, and do you think you have fulfilled that?
He indicated to me that this is the most important bilateral relationship in the world today, the U.S.-China relationship. He needed someone in Beijing that he could trust, that he could rely on, and to represent him and American policies. And he wanted to focus on more people-to-people exchange, more understanding between our people, more two-way trade, and also more collaboration and partnership between our companies, our scientists, and our researchers.
What have been some of the achievements in terms of trade and investment? How much have they grown?
Well, the U.S. exports to China are growing at a faster rate than U.S. exports to the rest of the world, almost twice as fast. And also Chinese investment to the United States has really grown substantially in just the last 2 years since I've been ambassador. Between the year 2000 and 2011, total Chinese investment to America was around $17 billion. But just in the last 2 years, it's been $18 billion. So what we've been able to promote in the last 2 years since I've been here exceeded the previous 11 years combined. And of course, we've really significantly made it easier for the Chinese to get a visa to go to the United States, whether as a tourist or as a business person.
Yes.
And as a result, there's been a lot more tourists and business people from China going to the United States, which helps both sides.
Was there any resistance in terms of some of the changes you tried to bring to the embassy? For example, by speeding up the visa process, was there cost involved?
The summer before I arrived, in Shanghai, people had to wait 70 days for their visa interview. And the summer before we arrived, people in Beijing had to wait over 100 days for their visa interview. So I met with the managers, and they did not think that unless we had more money, more people, or a new building, that we could do anything to reduce the wait times. But I said, we're not going to get money, we're not going to get new people, we're not going to get a new building. And within a month and a half, they reduced it down to 5 days. And for the last 2 years, it's been anywhere from 3 to 5 days. Last month, the wait time throughout all of China was only 2 days. And sometimes you can get your visa interview the next day.
What was the solution? What kind of changes did you make?
Well, actually, we just asked them, our visa staff, the American staff, and the Chinese staff. We have a lot of Chinese staff who work at the embassies and the consulates who've worked for maybe 15, 20 years. They have a lot of good ideas, too, things that are not necessary. And I just kept pushing them and pushing them and set a very high goal, but said that as long as you work hard, try hard, and work ethically, well, let's see what happens. And so I'm really proud of their accomplishments.
根据美国驻华使馆统计，2012年财年，使馆处理超过134万份非移民签证申请，同比增长34%。美国经济分析署先前研究显示，美国每增加65名入境游客，将增加1个就业岗位。中国赴美旅游人数的增加，将为美国创造可观的就业机会。罗家辉在任期间，正值中美关系进入稳定发展的阶段，两国元首多次成功会晤。双方在广泛双边领域和国际地区问题上保持了有效沟通与合作，特别是习近平主席与奥巴马总统2013年6月在美国加州阿纳伯格庄园的成功会晤，确立了中美共建新型大国关系的方向。当时有媒体称，中美元首2天内共处6、7个小时，在两国外交关系上只是史无前例的事，而这历史性的会面不乏美国驻华大使骆家辉所做出的努力。
Another highlight during your stay was to facilitate the meeting of our two state leaders at the Edinburgh retreat of Sunnyland. What was the point of that, and how did you witness this happening?
Well, again, it reflects just how important the U.S.-China relationship is and how much President Obama wants to build stronger ties with China. There's been a lot of talk about our so-called rebalance to the Asia-Pacific region, that the U.S. intends to control, contain, or constrain China to prevent China from rising.
The pivot to Asia.
But actually, the United States has long been a Pacific power, and we want to re-engage in the Asia-Pacific region because 3 of the 4 top world economies are in the Asia-Pacific region. It is so much of the world's GDP is in the Asia-Pacific region, and the future is in the Asia-Pacific region. So it's natural for President Obama to want us to have more engagement with all of Asia-Pacific, including China. And so, for instance, President Obama met with President Hu Jintao 12 times while President Obama was in office. He's already met with President Xi twice, and the purpose was to have a personal relationship with President Xi. So they had 2 days at the Annenberg Estate in Sunnylands, California, where the two walked among themselves, talked among themselves with no staff, no note-takers, truly spontaneous conversation, private conversations, talking about whatever each person wanted to talk about.
Did everyone agree on that kind of format? They're usually followed by hundreds of people.
Yes. Well, I think both sides wanted to have develop a personal relationship have our two presidents develop a personal relationship. And the way to do that is to not have all these people around where the two presidents read from cards and give speeches to each other, but really just walk among themselves. And I think the pictures show that they had a very good time. They had a very good unprecedented amount of time, many, many hours just among themselves, which is completely unheard of for any type of world leader.
What is the significance of this so-called new model of great power relationship mean to the world and to the future?
What it means is that two great countries, one a very established power and one a rising power, and that we don't want to repeat the historical past of conflict between two such great nations, and that instead we want cooperation and partnership. And what it really means to the Chinese and to the American people is that we want to see real benefits to the Chinese people and to the American people. And we need to find areas of cooperation that will make where we can have great progress, where the Chinese people can actually see the results of this close relationship. It might be in terms of finding cures for some of our dreaded diseases of the world. It might be trying to solve climate change and reduce the impact of global warming. Or it could be peace and stability to avoid nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula. It's very important that the people of both America and China can sense, can feel the benefits of our partnership. Instead of just talking about a partnership, it's important that they actually see it, that their lives are changed by it, that their lives benefit from this partnership.
And the two economies, of course, are so intertwined with each other.
Oh, yes.
No one can live without the other, right?
Yeah, America needs a prosperous China, because the more prosperous that China is, the greater the demand for medical devices, for food, environmental services, or high-tech goods. And also, China needs a strong U.S. economy, because the more that Americans are working, the more money they have in their pockets. The more money they have in their pockets, the more they buy. And so many things that Americans buy are made in China. So a strong U.S. economy means jobs for the Chinese people.
奥巴马对骆家辉的离职作何反应？
Was President Obama very happy upon your resignation?
We were sharing those same kind of moments.
Father's role. What are some of the qualities that your successor must have?
Good communication with the White House.
It's okay to have differences.
稍后请继续收看杨澜专访骆家辉夫妇，我们的2年半驻华生活。
这里记录的是一个人和他的时代。
1946年，中国第一位原子物理女硕士王光美放弃去美国读博士的机会，离开北平，奔赴延安，第一次见到了刘少奇。此时，季羡林刚刚从德国回到北平，成为北京大学教授，继续潜心研究梵文和吐火罗文。1982年，季羡林回到母校济南一中参加校友聚会。不远处的济南二中，17岁的巩俐最大的心愿是能考上一所师范学校。2006年，巩俐来到英国参加电影《迈阿密风云》的首映。不远处的克劳伦斯宫里，58岁的查尔斯正和卡米拉庆祝他们结婚1周年。此时，泳池里的菲尔普斯正备战北京奥运。在水立方，他一人夺得8枚金牌的传奇，将令世界为之惊叹。21世纪的第1个10年，杨澜访谈录走进这些历史风云人物，以独特视角为你讲述一个人和他的时代。
骆家辉先生担任美国驻华大使以来，为促进中美的交流与合作做出了积极的努力，我们对此表示赞赏。
中国有专家评论说，纵观骆家辉3年不到的任期里，中美关系的确比奥巴马第1任期时更加稳步推进。骆家辉在推动增加美国对华出口贸易、市场份额、奥巴马5年出口倍增计划、中国在美投资、双方人员交流、旅游签证审批程序和高层会晤等方方面面都做出了积极贡献。加拿大蒙特利尔公报评论称，骆家辉的任期内，中美2个大国正处于外交关系最为微妙的阶段，令其不得不面对一系列爆炸性意外事件，并常常成为焦点人物。
Was President Obama very happy upon your resignation?
He understood. He understood. And I was talking about our daughter who's going to be in high school and getting ready to go to college. The president said he's starting to feel the same thing. His oldest daughter is 1 year younger than our Emily, and he said he's already beginning to know that pretty soon she'll be leaving the house and off to college herself. So we were sharing those same kind of moments.
Father's rose.
Kind of father's remorse or father's, kind of sadness and sentimentality about our daughters growing up and leaving the house.
Do you think you leaving before the next ambassador is appointed would cause any negative impact on the Sino-U.S. relationship?
Well, that's why we made our announcement to give the president as much time as possible to find a replacement, to minimize any gap between my departure and when the ambassador arrives.
It's a hard fill, right?
Well, it's a very important position, and I'm sure there are many outstanding qualified candidates out there that the president can choose from. So it's important for him to have as much time as possible to find someone and to do all the necessary preparations for that person to be approved by the United States Senate.
Based on your experiences and perspective view, what are some of the qualities that your successor must have to handle this complicated, huge, and sometimes sensitive relationship?
Obviously, good communication with the White House and constant contact with the White House and the State Department so that the ambassador fully knows the priorities of the president and the U.S. government and can convey those priorities and those concerns to the Chinese officials. I think that person has to also work well and manage the huge embassy and all of our staff at the consulates, the 5 consulates throughout China, and be willing to meet with the Chinese people.
So I think communication, right? Good communication, cultural sensitivity, understanding that the way we do things